The Grand Riverside Hotel ballroom shimmered like a jewel box. Crystal chandeliers scattered light across marble floors. Designer gowns swirled between tuxedos. Champagne flutes caught the golden glow. 8-year-old Marcus Monroe stood near the refreshment table. His royal blue suit fit perfectly. His mother had taught him to stand straight. Tonight he did. He reached for a glass of water. His throat was dry from the warm room. "Excuse me." The voice was sharp, cold. "Where are your parents?" Marcus turned. A woman in an ivory gown loomed over him. Her smile didn't touch her eyes. Her diamond necklace caught the light like teeth. "I came with my father," Marcus said. His voice was quiet but clear. "Did you?" Vanessa Clark, the event hostess, tilted her head. "And where is he now?" "Taking a call." Marcus pointed toward the hallway. Vanessa's eyes swept over him, calculating, doubting. "This area is for registered guests only. Are you sure you're supposed to be here?" The music seemed to lower. Nearby conversations paused. Marcus felt eyes turning toward them. His heart hammered against his ribs. He'd been to events like this before. He knew how to behave, but something in her tone made his skin prickle. "I'm with my dad," he repeated. Firmer this time, Vanessa's smile sharpened. "Of course you are, sweetheart. Let's go find him, shall we?" She reached for his arm. Her grip was cold. 2 hours earlier, Marcus had walked through those same doors with pride swelling in his chest. His father, David Monroe, had adjusted his tie in the car. "You look sharp, son. Your mother would love this," Marcus had smiled. He'd picked the royal blue suit himself. It reminded him of the ocean painting in her old office. The Grand Riverside Hotel hosted the city's annual Children's Future Charity Gala. 500 guests. 20 corporate sponsors, 1 platinum sponsor, Monroe Tech Solutions. David's company, his pride, his legacy. David had built it from nothing after Grace died. 12-hour days, endless negotiations, all while raising Marcus alone. Tonight was supposed to celebrate that success, a family milestone. Marcus had explored the venue while David greeted business partners. The ballroom ceiling was painted with clouds and cherubs. Gold trim outlined every arch. Tables wore white linen like wedding cakes. He'd watched waiters glide between guests, observed the photographer capturing smiling donors, studied the silent auction items displayed on velvet pedestals. This world fascinated him. His mother had moved through spaces like this with effortless grace. She'd taught him, confidence comes from knowing your worth, not proving it to others. Marcus had felt ready, prepared. He belonged here as much as anyone. Then his father's phone had buzzed. An urgent client call. David had squeezed Marcus's shoulder. "Stay near the main room." "Shall it be 10 minutes?" Marcus had nodded. Responsible, trustworthy. 8 years old but mature for his age. He'd wandered toward the refreshment table. Just water. Simple, easy. He hadn't expected Vanessa Clark. Vanessa's grip on Marcus's arm tightened. Not painful, but firm. Possessive. "Come along," she said. Her voice carried across the nearby tables. "Let's find your guardian." The word stung. Guardian, not father. Not parent, guardian, like he was lost property. Marcus tried to pull back gently. "My dad is just—" "I'm sure he is." Vanessa's smile was acid. "But we have protocols. We can't have unaccompanied children wandering the event." A waiter paused mid-step. His tray of champagne trembled slightly. He looked at Marcus, then at Vanessa, then away. "I'm not wandering," Marcus said. His throat felt tight. "I was getting water. Were you invited?" Vanessa's eyebrows arched. "Do you have a guest badge?" Marcus looked down. No badge. His father had both badges in his jacket pocket. They'd arrived together. It hadn't seemed necessary. "My dad has them," Marcus whispered. "Of course." Vanessa's tone dripped disbelief. She turned to a security guard near the wall. "Thomas, can you help me locate this child's parents?" The security guard shifted uncomfortably. He was young, maybe 25. His eyes darted between Vanessa and Marcus. "Ma'am, maybe we should—" Thomas began. "Now, please." Vanessa's voice cracked like a whip, guests whispered. A woman in a lavender gown covered her mouth. A man in a tuxedo frowned, leaning toward his companion. Marcus felt heat crawl up his neck. His ears burned. His vision blurred slightly at the edges. He thought of his mother. Her steady voice, "Hold your head up, always." He lifted his chin, met Vanessa's eyes. "My father is David Monroe," he said clearly. "Monroe Tech Solutions." Vanessa's expression didn't change. "I'm sure he'll be thrilled to know you've been roaming unsupervised." She guided him toward the lobby. Away from the lights. Away from the music. Away from everything beautiful. The marble floor clicked under his dress shoes. Each step felt heavier than the last. The lobby was quieter, colder. The chandelier here was smaller, dimmer. Marcus sat on a velvet bench. Vanessa stood 3 feet away, arms crossed. Phone in hand, she typed rapidly. Laughed at something on her screen. Didn't look at him. Marcus's hands curled into fists on his lap. His royal blue suit suddenly felt wrong. Too bright. Too noticeable. He wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. His heart still hammered. The rhythm matched his mother's favorite song. She used to hum it while working, while cooking, while tucking him in. "Hold your head up, always." But his head felt so heavy, like gravity had doubled. His eyes stung, but he refused to let tears form. He'd done nothing wrong. He'd asked for water, at an event his family supported, in a building where his father's company banner hung in the ballroom, yet here he sat, escorted out like a thief, like he didn't belong. The air conditioning hummed overhead. Somewhere deep in the building, violins played. The gala continued without him. Without caring, Marcus thought of his father's face that morning. The pride when Marcus had knotted his own tie. The excitement in David's voice. "Tonight's special, son. You'll see." Now shame wrapped around Marcus's ribs like rope. Tightening with each breath, Vanessa glanced at him, sighed, looked back at her phone. Marcus clenched his fists tighter. His knuckles turned pale. His mother's voice whispered through the shame. "You are not a mistake." He straightened his spine, lifted his chin. His heart still raced, but his breathing steadied. Somewhere in this building his father would finish his call, would come looking, would find him here, and then Vanessa Clark would learn who Marcus Monroe really was. 3 years ago, Marcus had asked his mother why people stared sometimes, why cashiers followed them in stores, why teachers called on him less. Grace Monroe had knelt beside him in their kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching the gold flecks in her brown eyes. "Baby," she'd said softly, "some people carry fear inside them, fear of what they don't understand, of who they can't control." Marcus had been 5, too young to understand fully, old enough to feel it. "But I'm just me," he'd whispered. "Exactly." Grace had cupped his face. "You're brilliant, kind, strong. Your presence is never a mistake. Remember that." She'd been a civil rights attorney, quiet but formidable. She never raised her voice in court, but could silence a room with a single look. She fought for families whose children looked like Marcus, who faced what he was too young to name. Cancer had taken her when Marcus was 6, sudden, brutal, unfair. David had fallen apart for 3 months, then rebuilt himself piece by piece. For Marcus, he'd poured his grief into Monroe Tech Solutions. Every contract signed, every client secured, every dollar earned was armor for his son. David taught Marcus business principles at breakfast, negotiation tactics during car rides, the power of leverage while playing chess. "Knowledge is currency," David had said once, "but integrity is wealth. Never confuse the two." Tonight was supposed to be Marcus's introduction to David's world, a celebration of what they'd built together. Proof that Grace's lessons and David's work had created something unshakable. Instead, Marcus sat in a lobby, escorted out for asking for water, for existing in a space his family funded. His mother's words echoed, "Your presence is never a mistake." Marcus looked at Vanessa, still absorbed in her phone. Still oblivious, he took a slow breath. His heart rate settled. Clarity replaced shame. She didn't know. Couldn't know. But she would. Marcus's eyes drifted to a side table. Glossy programs stacked in a neat pyramid. Children's Future Charity Gala, embossed in gold lettering. He reached for one. Vanessa didn't notice. He flipped through pages. Donor lists, auction items, sponsor advertisements. Then the back page. His breath caught. Monroe Tech Solutions logo dominated the entire back cover. Bold letters underneath. Platinum sponsor, $500,000. Building tomorrow's future today. His father's face smiled from a smaller photo. Professional, confident. The caption read, David Monroe, CEO with son Marcus at last year's Tech Innovation Summit. Marcus's pulse quickened, not from fear this time, from certainty. He looked up at Vanessa. She was texting someone, lips curved in amusement. Her screen glowed against her ivory gown. Can you believe it? She muttered to herself, shaking her head. Lost kid at a black tie event. Security nightmare. Marcus set the program down carefully. His hands were steady now. His breathing even. His father had taught him about leverage, about timing, about the moment when information becomes power. This was that moment. The lobby door opened. David Monroe stepped through, phone still pressed to his ear. His tuxedo was impeccable. His expression focused, professional. Then he saw Marcus on the bench. His eyes swept to Vanessa standing guard. Back to his son. David's expression hardened. Granite replacing warmth. His jaw clenched. The phone lowered slowly from his ear. Marcus. His voice was controlled. Too controlled. The calm before lightning. Marcus stood. Hi, Dad. Vanessa spun around. Her phone nearly slipped from her hand. Her smile activated automatically. Bright, professional, empty. Oh, is this your... She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes focused on David's face. Recognition flickered, slowly, horribly. The program lay on the table between them. David Monroe's face staring up from the glossy page. Vanessa's smile cracked. Her face drained of color. The diamond necklace at her throat suddenly looked too tight. Mr. Monroe, she breathed. David ignored her. He crossed to Marcus in 3 strides. Knelt down, his hands gentle on Marcus's shoulders. Did something happen? His voice was soft. Only for Marcus, Marcus nodded. His throat too tight for words yet. David's hands tightened briefly. Protective. Then he stood. Rose to his full height. Turned to face Vanessa. I'm David Monroe. Monroe Tech Solutions. Each word deliberate, precise. This is my son, Marcus. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I didn't. There was a misunderstanding. Was there? David's voice could cut glass. He didn't have a badge. I thought I was just the protocols require... Vanessa's words tumbled over each other, desperate, drowning. David let the silence stretch. Let her drown in it. We'll discuss this inside, he said finally. With the event director immediately. Vanessa exhaled shakily. Relief flooded her features. She thought it was over. A private conversation, a quiet resolution. She had no idea. David placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder, steady, protective, claiming his son in the space that had rejected him. They walked toward the ballroom doors. Vanessa followed 3 steps behind, smoothing her ivory gown with trembling hands. Marcus glanced back once. The program still lay on the table. His father's face watching. His mother's lessons guiding. Your presence is never a mistake. Tonight the world would learn that lesson. The ballroom felt different now. The chandeliers too bright, the music too loud. Marcus walked between his father and Vanessa, aware of every eye tracking their movement. David's hand remained steady on Marcus's shoulder, anchoring, protecting. The charity director, Richard Pemberton, spotted them immediately. His smile was practiced, effusive. He rushed over, hand extended. David, wonderful to see you. Isn't this a magnificent turnout? Richard's enthusiasm faltered as he registered Marcus. Then Vanessa's pale face. "Is everything all right?" "Beautiful event," David said. His tone was pleasant, empty. "My son was just escorted to the lobby for attempting to get water." Richard's smile froze. "I'm certain there's been some misunderstanding." David's eyebrow lifted. "I'm certain there has been." Richard looked at Vanessa. She opened her mouth, but nothing emerged. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately," Richard suggested. Desperation crept into his voice. "My office?" David nodded once, sharp, final. They moved through the crowd. Marcus felt whispers follow them like smoke. A woman in a dusty rose gown leaned toward her companion. A man in a tuxedo frowned, concerned. Richard's office was smaller than the ballroom, but just as ornate. Mahogany desk. Leather chairs. Framed photos of past charity events lined the walls. David sat, Marcus beside him. Vanessa stood near the door, trapped. Now Richard began. "I'm sure we can resolve—" "My son," David interrupted, "asked for water. At an event my company sponsors. What happened next?" Vanessa's voice trembled. "I was protecting the event's integrity. We have protocols for unaccompanied minors. Was he unaccompanied?" David's voice was surgical, precise. "He didn't have a badge because I had both badges. We arrived together." David leaned forward. "Try again." Silence filled the room like concrete. Richard cleared his throat. "Vanessa, perhaps you could explain your concerns." Vanessa straightened, grasping for authority. "Children wandering alone pose security risks. I was doing my job." "By grabbing his arm?" David's voice dropped. "By questioning whether he belonged?" "I never said you didn't have to." David's eyes were ice. "My son knows what you meant." "So do I." Richard's face had gone gray. He understood now. The weight settling over the room. Vanessa's hands twisted together. It was a simple mistake. "I apologize if—" The word hung like a blade. Marcus watched his father. Saw the control. The restraint. The fury channeled into something sharper than rage. David pulled out his phone. Opened a document. Monroe Tech's sponsorship contract. Clause 7. Ethical Conduct Standards. "Any act of discrimination nullifies our agreement immediately." Richard's eyes widened. "David, please. I'm invoking it." David's voice was final. "Monroe Tech Solutions withdraws all sponsorship. Effective immediately." The room stopped breathing. Vanessa stumbled backward. Her shoulder hit the doorframe. "Wait, no, you can't. I can." David's gaze never left Richard. $500,000 gone, because your hostess treated my 8-year-old son like a criminal." Richard's face flushed. "David, the charity needs this funding. Hundreds of families depend on—" "Then you have a decision to make." David stood. Marcus rose with him, small hand finding his father's. "This isn't fair," Vanessa's voice cracked. "I didn't know who he was." "Exactly." David turned to face her fully. "You didn't know, so you assumed. And that assumption revealed everything I need to know about how this event is run." Richard moved between them, placating, desperate. "Vanessa made an error in judgment. We can address this internally. Can you?" David's voice cut through. "Because from where I stand, your hostess saw a black child and decided he didn't belong. No questions about the royal blue suit. No consideration that he might be a guest's son. Just immediate suspicion and removal." The words hung in the air. "Undeniable." "True." Marcus felt his father's hand tighten on his shoulder. "Protective. Proud." Richard's voice dropped. What would resolve this? David looked at Marcus, then at Vanessa, then back to Richard. "That's your problem to solve," he said quietly. "But until it's solved, Monroe Tech wants nothing to do with this organization." He guided Marcus toward the door. Vanessa pressed against the wall to let them pass. In the hallway, Marcus looked up. "Dad, we're leaving, son." David's jaw was tight. "This isn't a place that respects you. And I won't spend $1 where you're not respected." Behind them, through the office door, Richard's urgent voice. "Vanessa." What were you thinking? And Vanessa's reply, brittle and breaking, I was just doing my job. David's phone buzzed. A text from Richard, please. Let's talk. Give me 1 hour. David showed Marcus the screen. What do you think? Marcus remembered his mother's voice. Her lessons about grace and strength. About choosing battles and building bridges. 1 hour, Marcus said quietly. David nodded. Texted back 1 hour. In your office. With Vanessa present, they walked back through the ballroom. Conversation stopped. Eyes followed. The Monroe Tech banner hung above the silent auction table, suddenly heavy with meaning. Marcus held his head high. His mother's son. His father's pride. Whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. The office felt smaller with 4 people inside. David sat with Marcus beside him. Richard behind his desk. Vanessa in the corner chair, hands folded in her lap like a prayer. The clock on the wall ticked. Each second sharp, distinct. I've worked this event for 6 years, Vanessa began. Her voice was thin, stretched. I've never had a complaint. Never had an issue. I take pride in my work, David said nothing. His silence was louder than any accusation. I saw a child alone, Vanessa continued. No badge. No adult nearby. I acted on protocol. That's all. That's all? David's voice was soft. Dangerous. Marcus felt the air pressure change. Like before a storm. I made a mistake, Vanessa amended quickly. I should have asked more questions. Should have been more patient. I apologize. To whom? David's eyes never left her face. Vanessa's gaze flickered to Marcus, then away. To your son. To you. To the charity. Look at him. David's voice sharpened. Not at me, at Marcus. Apologize to him. Vanessa's throat moved. She forced herself to meet Marcus's eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way. Marcus studied her face. Saw fear there, desperation, but not understanding. Not yet. Why did you treat me that way, he asked. His voice was clear, steady, his mother's son. Vanessa blinked. I told you protocol safety concerns. But why me? Marcus pressed. Other kids were there. I saw a girl near the dessert table. A boy by the piano. You didn't stop them. Silence crashed into the room. Vanessa's face crumpled. I don't know. I thought... Say it. David's voice was steel. Say what you thought. Vanessa's hands trembled. Tears spilled over. I thought he didn't belong, and I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. The clock ticked. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. Not forgiveness yet, but recognition. His mother had taught him this too. People could be wrong and still learn. Could be broken and still mend. Thank you, Marcus said quietly. For saying it. Richard leaned forward. David, I understand your anger. It's justified. But please consider the families this charity serves. 300 children receive after-school programs because of this funding. 200 families get counseling services. 50 kids get scholarships. David's expression didn't soften. And how many of those children are black? How many would Vanessa have escorted out? The question landed like a stone in water. Ripples spreading. Richard's jaw tightened. That's not fair, isn't it? David's voice rose for the first time. My son experienced exactly what those children face every day. Suspicion, assumption, removal. And you want me to fund that? No, Richard's voice was firm. I want you to help us fix it. The room paused. Even the clock seemed to hesitate. Explain, David said. Richard stood, paced to the window. You're right. Completely right. This happened on my watch. In an organization I run. That makes it my failure, too. He turned back. Fire Vanessa. I'll restore the sponsorship. And I'll implement changes. Real changes. David's eyes narrowed. What changes? Mandatory bias training for all staff. Diversity consultants brought in quarterly. A review board that includes community members. And a scholarship fund specifically for children from underserved communities. Richard's voice gained strength. named after your wife. The Grace Monroe Scholarship Fund. Marcus's breath caught. His mother's name. Her legacy. Continuing, David was silent. His hand rested on Marcus's shoulder. Thinking, calculating. Not a scholarship fund, David said slowly. A mentorship program. Grace believed in guidance, not just money. Pair kids with professionals. Teach them navigation, not just survival. Richard nodded eagerly. Yes, absolutely, we can structure it. And Vanessa stays, Marcus interrupted. 3 heads turned toward him. What? David's voice was gentle, confused. Marcus looked at Vanessa. She made a mistake. A bad one, but she admitted it. Mom always said people deserve chances to grow. Make her take the training. Make her volunteer with the mentorship program. Make her learn. Vanessa's eyes widened. Fresh tears spilled. Marcus, David began. She can help more kids by learning than by leaving, Marcus said. His voice didn't waver. That's what Mom would say. David studied his son's face. Saw Grace there. Her wisdom. Her mercy. Her strength. He's right, David said finally. He looked at Vanessa. You stay, but you attend every training session. You volunteer 20 hours a month with the mentorship program. And if there's ever another incident like this, you're done. Understood? Vanessa nodded. Unable to speak. Gratitude and shame warring on her face. Richard exhaled. And the sponsorship? David pulled out his phone. I'm amending the contract. 500,000 this year. 750,000 next year. Contingent on program implementation and quarterly reviews. He extended his hand. Richard shook it. Firm, grateful. Thank you, Richard whispered. Thank you both. They returned to the ballroom together. The 4 of them. A silent procession that drew every eye. The music had stopped. 500 guests watched, waiting. The air hummed with anticipation. Richard moved to the microphone on stage. Feedback squealed briefly. He cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. I need to address something important. The room settled into complete silence. Tonight, an incident occurred that demands transparency. One of our young guests was treated with suspicion and disrespect by our staff. That guest is Marcus Monroe, son of David Monroe, our platinum sponsor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers erupted. Richard raised his hand. Marcus asked for water. He was escorted out and questioned because he didn't have a visible badge. Because assumptions were made about whether he belonged here. The whispers grew louder. Heads turned toward Vanessa, standing beside the stage. Her face was streaked with tears, but she didn't hide. I want to be clear, Richard continued. This was wrong. Completely inexcusably wrong. It reflected biases we must confront. And it nearly cost this charity everything. He looked at David and Marcus in the front row. Mr. Monroe had every right to withdraw his company's support. Instead, he and his son showed us something greater than anger. They showed us a path forward. Richard's voice strengthened. Effective immediately, this organization will implement mandatory bias training for all staff and volunteers. We'll establish a community review board. And we're creating the Grace Monroe Mentorship Program, named after Marcus's late mother, a civil rights attorney who believed in transformation through education. The room erupted. Some applauded. Others looked uncomfortable. A few whispered protests. A woman in the back stood. How do we know this won't happen again? Richard nodded. Because Vanessa Clark, our event hostess, will be the first to complete the training. She'll volunteer with the mentorship program, and she'll help ensure no other child ever experiences what Marcus did tonight. Vanessa stepped forward. Her voice barely reached the microphone. I was wrong. I let fear and assumption guide me instead of compassion. I'm deeply sorry, and I will spend however long it takes proving I can do better. Silence held for 3 heartbeats. Then Marcus stood, small in his royal blue suit, but unshakable. My mom used to say that mistakes are only failures if we don't learn from them, he said. His voice carried, clear, strong. I think we can all learn from tonight. Applause began slowly. then built. Wave after wave, not for Vanessa, not for Richard, for Marcus, for his grace, for his courage. David stood beside his son, hand on his shoulder, pride radiating from every line of his body. The Monroe Tech banner caught the chandelier light. The company logo gleamed, but brighter than any logo was the boy standing beneath it, the boy who'd been questioned for asking for water, who'd been assumed not to belong, who'd chosen growth over vengeance. The applause continued, and Marcus Monroe held his head high, just like his mother taught him. Later, the garden behind the hotel was quiet. Fountain water trickled over smooth stones. The gala music drifted through open French doors, softer now, gentler. Marcus sat on a stone bench, David beside him. Their ties loosened. The night's weight settling. "Did I do the right thing?" Marcus asked. His voice was small again. 8 years old again. David pulled him close. "Your mother would be so proud. You chose grace over revenge. That takes more strength than anger ever could." "But she was mean to me," Marcus whispered. "She made me feel small." "She did." David didn't soften it. "And you made yourself big again. Not by destroying her, by teaching her. That's power, son. Real power." Marcus leaned into his father's warmth. "I miss Mom." "Me too," David's voice cracked slightly. "Every day. But she's here in you, in every choice you make." Through the French doors they could see the ballroom. Vanessa talking quietly with Richard. Guests mingling, the tension dissolved. The charity director was already on his phone, scheduling training sessions. Making calls. Marcus saw the woman in the lavender gown from earlier. She approached Vanessa, spoke briefly, then hugged her. Forgiveness in action. "Dad?" Marcus looked up. "Do you think people can really change?" David considered. "Some can. Some choose to. Your mother believed in that possibility. She spent her career creating space for people to be better. Is that what we did tonight?" "That's exactly what we did." David kissed the top of Marcus's head. "You created space, just like Grace." Inside, Richard announced the final donation tally. $800,000 raised. More than any previous year. The Grace Monroe Mentorship Program already had 5 volunteers. Marcus watched the fountain water catch the moonlight. Sparkle and fall, sparkle and fall. Endless and beautiful. His royal blue suit no longer felt like armor. It felt like himself. Like his mother's strength and his father's protection woven into fabric. "Can we come back next year?" Marcus asked. David smiled. "Every year. We'll watch the mentorship program grow. We'll make sure tonight matters." "Good," Marcus said. He stood, straightened his suit jacket. "Because I think I belong here now." "You always belonged here," David corrected gently. "Now everyone else knows it too." They walked back inside together, father and son. Monroe Tech and the Monroe Legacy. Building tomorrow's future today, just like the banner promised. That night, David tucked Marcus into bed at home. The royal blue suit hung carefully in the closet. A reminder, a trophy. "A lesson, Dad," Marcus whispered into the darkness. "Why do people act like that?" "Like Vanessa did." David sat on the edge of the bed. The nightlight cast soft shadows across the room. Gracie's photo on the dresser seemed to glow. "Fear," David said simply. "Ignorance. Power they think they have but don't understand." He smoothed Marcus's hair. "But you have something stronger. You have your mother's courage. And you know who you are. No one can take that from you." Marcus's eyes fluttered closed, sleep pulling at him. David walked to the window. The city lights stretched to the horizon. Thousands of stories unfolding in thousands of windows. He thought of Grace. How she'd fought these battles in courtrooms and classrooms and everywhere in between. How she'd taught their son not just to survive but to transform. Tonight Marcus had learned that dignity isn't given. It's claimed. That presence matters. That grace is stronger than rage. And sometimes the most powerful response to injustice isn't destruction. It's demanding better. Not just for yourself, for everyone who comes after you. David touched the window glass. Cool against his palm. "We did good today, Grace," he whispered. "Our boy did good." In his bed, Marcus smiled in his sleep, dreaming of royal blue suits and mentorship programs, of belonging and becoming, of mothers who taught strength and fathers who showed protection, of a world slowly, painfully learning to make room. Your presence is never a mistake, and tomorrow we'll make sure the world remembers that.